For centuries, we thought these monsters were just legends, until real evidence started to surface. Today, I'll show you 7 mythical creatures that people once feared or laughed off as pure fantasy. But science, history, and eyewitness sightings tell a different story. Number 7. Cerberus. Cerberus, not your average guard dog. This beast had 3 massive heads, a mane of snakes, and a tail like a serpent. Legends say his eyes could turn you to stone, and his bite was laced with poison. Born from monsters, Cerberus was chained to the gates of the underworld. No soul escaped, and no living mortal entered without Hades' say-so. Some claimed each head saw a different thing: the past, the present, the future. Others believed he symbolized birth, youth, and old age. Either way, one thing's clear: Cerberus was the ultimate watchdog. Even heroes feared him. Orpheus tried to pass, so he played music to lull the beast to sleep. Hercules didn't bother with tricks. He wrestled Cerberus and survived. But Cerberus isn't just an old Greek ghost story. All across history, cultures imagined hounds guarding the border between life and death. Think of Anubis in Egypt or Garmr from Norse myth. Maybe deep down, we just like the idea of a loyal dog guarding us forever. Maybe that's why the myth stuck around, because somewhere it echoed something real. So could something like Cerberus be real? Not exactly the 3-headed monster from myths, but nature doesn't play by human rules. Strange creatures do exist. In fact, scientists have documented animals born with 2 heads, like snakes, turtles, and even dogs. It's rare, but real. These mutations may look bizarre, but they prove something important. Biology can break its own rules. Now imagine this. What if an ancient culture saw one of these animals? Not once, but again and again passed down in stories. Over time, it grows in size, gains more heads, and becomes a legend guarding the gates of death. Number 6. Charybdis. Most sea monsters attack with teeth. Charybdis? She swallowed the sea. In Greek legend, she lurked beneath the waves of the Strait of Messina, hiding under a jagged rock. But she wasn't alone. Across the narrow channel lived Scylla, a beast with snapping jaws. To pass between them meant choosing your death. Get too close to Scylla, and you'd be torn apart. Drift toward Charybdis, and your ship would vanish into spinning water. She didn't roar. She didn't chase. She waited. Legends say Charybdis would suck down huge amounts of water, holding it in her belly. But when she released it, the ocean twisted into a violent whirlpool, one strong enough to drag entire ships into the deep. Greek heroes like Odysseus and Jason faced her. Most never returned. Charybdis shows up again and again in ancient stories. Some believed she was a massive sea serpent with an endless thirst, so powerful it changed the tides. Her hunger shaped the rhythm of the sea itself. Today, science tells a different story. The whirlpools in that strait are real, but not deadly. They're just rough patches caused by crashing currents. They may tip over small boats during storms, but they don't match the monster in the myth. So why did sailors believe in her? Maybe the fear was real, even if the creature wasn't. Or maybe something was there, something no one survived long enough to explain. Number 5. Emela-Ntouka. Most people have heard of the Amazon, but deep in Central Africa lies the Congo rainforest, even bigger in mystery and far less explored. It's a place where roads vanish, myths grow wild, and some say dinosaurs never really left. Locals speak of a creature called Emela-Ntouka, which means elephant killer. That's already terrifying, but the details are even stranger. They describe a reddish-brown beast with massive legs, a long tail, and a single sharp horn jutting from its head. It doesn't eat meat, yet it's known to ambush elephants, not for food, but to defend its territory. The horn, thick like ivory or bone, strong enough to disembowel. Sound like a dinosaur? That's what many believe. It looks a lot like a ceratopsian, the horned dinosaurs from prehistoric times. But scientists say those creatures vanished in the Cretaceous extinction. So, what are people seeing? Some say it's a modern rhino, but there's a problem. African rhinos have 2 horns and short tails. Emela-Ntouka has just 1, and a long tail. Therefore, some experts think it could be a completely undiscovered species, maybe even a distant relative of extinct beasts like Arsinoitherium or Megacerops, giant rhino-like animals that once roamed ancient lands. Could one of them still be hiding in the swamps of Congo? If so, it didn't just survive extinction, it won. Number 4. Chimera. Imagine facing a beast with a lion's head that breathes fire, a goat's head growing from its back, and a venomous serpent for a tail. Sounds impossible, right? That's the Chimera, one of the most terrifying creatures in Greek mythology. According to legend, she was the daughter of Typhon, a monster so big he challenged the gods, and Echidna, a half-woman, half-snake creature. The Chimera rampaged through the land of Lycia, burning everything in her path, until a hero named Bellerophon, riding the winged horse Pegasus, finally took her down. But even in death, the Chimera's legacy lived on. Over time, her image spread across ancient coins, pottery, statues, even entire mountains. In fact, Mount Chimera still burns today due to natural gas fires leaking from underground. To the Greeks, those flames weren't just geology. They They were proof the Chimera had once lived there. But here's where it gets weird. The word Chimera didn't stay trapped in myth. It followed us into science. Today, a chimera is real, but not in the way you'd expect. It's the name scientists use for any organism made from two different species. For example, in the 1980s, researchers fused a goat and a sheep embryo to create a real, living geep, not a hybrid, a true chimera. Two embryos merged into one creature. Even stranger, some labs have grown human brain cells inside mice. These are also called chimeras, not terrifying monsters, but scientific wonders. Still, they raise an uncomfortable question. Where's the line between human and not? In 1998, two scientists even tried to patent a human-animal chimera. The government rejected it, calling the idea dangerous, even monstrous. So we've gone from a fire-breathing myth to cutting-edge biology. And somehow, the chimera still feels dangerous. Not just because of what it was, but because of what it might still become. Number 3, dragons. Dragons, you see them everywhere, on flags, on buildings, even hanging outside pubs. Europe shows them as fierce beasts with wings and claws. But in East Asia, they're graceful, snake-like, colorful, symbols of power tied to the emperor himself. In China, the dragon ranks higher than any real animal. It's the only mythical creature in their calendar. That says a lot. Across history, stories told of brave knights fighting fire-breathing monsters. One hero, St. George, became a legend for slaying a dragon. So famous, the world gave him his own day. But here's the real question. If dragons were never real, why do so many cultures describe the same creature? Even the Bible calls the devil a dragon. Coincidence? Or something more? Some believe people once lived alongside dragon-like animals. They saw them, fought them, passed the stories down before the creatures vanished. Others think it started with fossils. Imagine finding a giant skull with teeth like knives. What would you call it? Maybe dragon was the only word that made sense. That idea isn't far-fetched. In Sichuan, China, people talked about dragon bones over 2,000 years ago. They didn't know about dinosaurs, but they knew what they saw was no ordinary beast. One more theory? Dragons were distant cousins of real animals, like the dragon snake or gliding lizards. But if they ever did exist, they likely vanished with the dinosaurs. Number 2, Ningen. Ningen is a sea creature from Japanese legend, but it's no ordinary myth. People say it's massive, 65 to 98 feet long. It looks almost human, but not quite. Pure white skin, long arms, webbed fingers. Some even say it has a tail like a mermaid. In 2022, whale researchers spotted something strange. It wasn't a whale, too smooth, too pale, too human. They saw hands with fingers. The creature rose near their ship but vanished before they could react. Creepy, yes. But this story goes back further. In 2005, Google Maps caught a weird shape in the ocean near Namibia. Some said it was just ice. Others weren't so sure. By 2010, things got even weirder. A Japanese team filmed something lying deep on the ocean floor. Huge body, tiny eyes, a wide, eerie smile. It didn't move. It just stared. A few people brushed it off as a sea snake. But some believed it walks on land upright, like a person made of ice. Here's where it gets unsettling. Parts of the footage never released. Why? Rumors say the government stepped in to keep people calm. Fun fact, Ningen means human in Japanese. Not monster, not beast, human. Creepy, right? Number 1, Griffin. The Griffin, half lion, half eagle. It had the body, legs, and tail of a lion, but the head of an eagle. Some had wings with sharp talons, others didn't. It wasn't just a creature. It was royalty, king of the land and sky. Therefore, in many legends, it ruled over everything. Stories of griffins show up across the globe, from the Middle East to Northern Europe. They were said to guard tombs and treasure. Some even believed their feathers could cure blindness. But here's the real question. Were griffins just stories, or something people actually saw? If you were a Scythian living near the Black Sea thousands of years ago, you might say yes, especially if you found certain bones. Bones we now know belong to a Protoceratops. Protoceratops was a real animal. It lived during the Cretaceous period, was about the size of a sheep, and looked like a strange mix of creatures. To us raised on dinosaur movies, it's familiar, but to ancient people, no clue what a dinosaur even was. They found that skull with its beak-like face and thought eagle. They saw the strong body and imagined a lion. Therefore, a griffin was born. That's the idea proposed by Adrienne Mayer, a historian from Stanford. Her theory, ancient people found these fossils, didn't understand them, so they created myths to explain what they saw. But not everyone agrees. Dr. Mark Whitten argues the opposite. He believes griffins were based on real animals, living ones, birds of prey, big cats, maybe even both combined in stories. Therefore, no need to bring dinosaurs into it. For Whitten, griffins weren't ancient science. They were pure imagination. So, what's the truth? A myth born from ancient bones, or a creature shaped by fear and wonder? Either way, griffins are just one piece of a much bigger mystery. There are other legendary creatures once dismissed as fantasy until science revealed something far more shocking. So, click here to uncover the next unbelievable creatures in this series.